a paralyzed African National Congress. The ANC has lost its revolutionary zest and gusto. Members are fighting for tenders and positions, both within the organization and in government. This infighting has so paralyzed the ANC that it no longer knows who the enemy is or what the whole concept of the National Democratic Revolution is about. The ANC can no longer face the truth. The situation is so bad that members are at a point where they no longer know who or what the ANC is anymore. For the first time in the year 2018, we saw so-called ANC leaders ready to unite with the opposition in parliament to destroy President Jacob Zuma, a leader and a comrade who has served his people and the ANC with flying colors for all of his life. At this point, we want to publicly thank Comrade Jacob Zuma for all his struggles, his sacrifices and victories. We will never turn our backs on you, Msholozi. We are totally opposed to the mafia-style compelling of Msholozi to resign. We demand that the ANC must tell Msholozi and the country and members of the ANC why they forced him to resign. The party of the Alexander Mafia and the Stellenbosch Mafia has to be stopped. Having said that, comrades, we want to turn to the book recently written by Gayton Mackenzie, titled Kill Zuma by Any Means Necessary. Mr. Mackenzie makes startling revelations in his book that definitely need the ANC and Cyril to respond to. We wrote a letter to the leadership of the ANC in January this year, asking that they read the letter, respond, and make public pronouncements on the stance of the organization in relation to the allegations made in the book. 3 months later, the ANC has not been able to respond to the book, and the ANC has not responded to our letter. We find this very strange, that the ANC is paralyzed by one book and numbed to church mouse silence. We are actually so shocked that we believe all the revelations in that book are actually true. ANC leaders were poisoned and taken to Russia to be saved. The poisoned leaders include President Msholozi. It also includes Comrade Ace Magashule, who was then the Premier of the Free State, and David Mabuza, who was the Premier in Mpumalanga. The ANC knows who the culprits are, but it has never confronted or charged them. They have never uttered a word about these incidents, and the culprits are free. Some of those culprits were surprisingly even elected as Nasrec into the leadership. The ANC must tell us why. The ANC of today cannot explain to its members and to the nation it claims to lead how this Cyril became the Secretary General of the organization in 1991, the very year that he joined us. Cyril attended the Durban Conference in 1991 as a non-voting delegate. Now this is very serious, because it simply means he was not even supposed to vote Cyril in that conference, let alone to be nominated and stand to be voted for. But interesting enough, he came out of that conference the Secretary General of the ANC. How do you join the ANC in 1991, attend a conference as a non-voting delegate, and come out of that conference the Secretary General? What do you know about the ANC? Cyril knows nothing about the ANC. That is why Ubaba Herikwada questioned this, that how does the ANC allow such a man to be appointed into such a position? Nobody answered that question until Ubaba died. This parachuting of Cyril into the leadership of our organization is not acceptable, comrades. It's not acceptable at all. Cyril was never part of any underground structures of the ANC or the Alliance. He was babysitted, schooled, and funded by representatives of white monopoly capital all his life. Even his friends today that he brought to our meeting in Soweto, they are the Ruperts and the Menels and the Oppenheimers. The man is presently brave. These are the very people who sided and propped up apartheid during the struggle. They were his friends. The cloud of the Marikana killings still hangs over him. He is the man who was presented to the world as a friend of the working class. But later on, Cyril was one of the bosses in Marikana. When striking workers demanded higher wages, Cyril called them criminals. And for that reason, those workers were callously gunned down. 35 of our people died because Cyril branded them criminals. We will still come to that. Cyril does not qualify to lead the ANC. No matter who says what, every self-respecting member of the ANC knows that Cyril does not qualify to be a leader of the ANC. He does not meet the requirements of being an ANC leader. Today we hear people telling us that Cyril won the presidency of the ANC in a fair election at the December conference in Nazareth. What hogwash and a hoax. The truth of the matter that every South African knows is that the cause of our country paved way for Cyril by disqualifying delegates from MTZ supporting areas from voting at that conference. As if that was not enough, at the conference itself, there is an unresolved question of more than 65 votes that were not counted. It's interesting that the elections people said the number of voters is complete. They even told us how many people abstained. And then after that, they told us Cyril won. But less than an hour later, it came to the notice of everybody that there were more than 65 votes that were not counted. How does the ANC explain that? How did Cyril win? What about the 65 uncounted votes? It simply means, comrades, the ANC must hold a National General Council of the ANC. And this has to be done speedily to address the issues that the leadership of the ANC is busy trying to sweep under carpets. This is the speed, this is the reason of the speed behind the forcing of Msholozi to resign. Because there are things that they are trying to hide. And as members of the ANC and Umkhonto weSizwe, we are not going to accept it. If the ANC is not able to count votes in its own conference of less than 5,000 delegates, how sure are we that come 2019 elections, the vote will be fair? How do we know? The ANC has to clean its act. The ANC must clean its house. The first step towards that is to hold the National General Council of the ANC and nullify the election or the appointment of the white monopoly capital darling Cyril as president of this organization. What is the ANC giving to the people of South Africa? Cyril? Comrade, Cyril is not the best of our cadres. Cyril is not the type of man who can present to South Africa and say, here's the leader that will lead the country. Cyril has to be removed as the leader of the ANC. These things are simple. This is the ANC. It's amazing that today, people are so quiet when the hero of the struggle is being rubbished. Msholozi has said to the ANC, tell me the reason why I has resigned. The ANC has not been able to tell the country or to tell Msholozi why he has to resign. Why? In 1991, the first thing that Cyril did was to remove President Zuma, who was then the chief of intelligence. And then, the very first act that he does after winning the presidency of the ANC by questionable means is to remove Msholozi. There's something wrong with this, Cyril. I call upon all structures of the organization. I call upon members of Mkhonto weSizwe, the various detachments, to remember that we have in the African National Congress what we call criticism and self-criticism meetings. We cannot accept this state of affairs to continue. The leadership of today takes decisions, and then they tell us they will go to their branches and explain their decision. What nonsense. It's the members of the organization who must tell the organization what they want, not the other way around. The leaders are not divine, they are not God. They are servants of the people. They cannot dictate to us what to decide. We tell them what to do, and then they speak in our name only after consulting with us. They cannot go and make decisions and then come and tell the world that they will tell us why they made the decisions. Who are they? Enough is enough, comrades. Aluta!
Continua!
A Victoria! Amandla!
Away!
All power!
To the people!